Hello and welcome to your English news broadcast live on ERi-TV. It's exactly 10:30 p.m. on Eritrea's local time from our headquarters at Asmara with your domestic and international news in brief. I'm Zahra Badouri, but first we'll begin with your major headlines for this broadcast. An announcement from the Ministry of Health. Meeting on implementation of development programs. Brazil dinosaur fossil was found during construction, according to yesterday's report. China and American Chinese officials held a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State, and more. Welcome to your domestic in brief. 4 patients have been diagnosed positive of COVID-19 and tests carried out today at quarantine centers and testing stations in the central and Gashbarka regions. Out of these, 3 patients are from testing stations in Arbaat Asmara 1, Sambal 1, and Shikati 1 central region. The last patient is from a quarantine center in Adibara, Gashbarka region. Sadly, a 105-year-old and an 80-year-old and a 67-year-old patients from the central region have passed away due to the pandemic. On the other hand, 23 patients who have been receiving medical treatment in hospitals in the southern region, 17, and central region, 6, have recovered fully and have been discharged from these facilities. The total number of recovered patients has accordingly increased to 6,862, while the number of deaths has risen to 51. The total number of confirmed cases in the country to date has increased to 7,055. Ministry of Health, Asmara, 14th November 2021. The governor of the northern Red Sea region, Mrs. Asmarat Abraha, held meeting with public representatives in Af'abet subzone on the implementation of the charted out development programs. At the meeting, in which village elders, members of the assembly area administrators, as well as heads of line ministries took part, Mrs. Asmarat held a discussion on the importance of strengthening public organization in addressing challenges, community-based environmental sanitation activity in controlling the prevalence of communicable diseases, as well as water and soil conservation programs in boosting agricultural production. Mrs. Asmarat also called on the public and administrators at various levels to reinforce participation in the implementation of the set-out development drives. Mrs. Asmarat also conducted a tour of inspection in the subzones of Naqfa, Qarura, and Adobaha and held discussions with the concerned administrators, public administratives, and religious leaders on the situation of the social services provision institution and the challenges being encountered. At the meeting, Mrs. Asmarat called on the residents to make a proper use of the social services provision institutions and especially to encourage their children attending regular education. The participants on their part conducted a discussion on the topics raised in the meeting and adopted various recommendations. Rape seeds being cultivated in Saganeti subzone as a pilot project and registering encouraging results according to farmers as your final domestic. Speaking to Arena, the farmers indicating the rape seeds that they are cultivating was distributed by the National Institute of Agricultural Research, said that the seeds are in good condition as well. Mr. Yasu Asafau from the Ministry of Agriculture, on his part, rape seeds are planted in over 27 hectares of farmland, and thanks to the ample rainfall registered in the subzone, bountiful harvest is expected, he said, pointing out that in addition to the economic benefits, rapeseed oil are good for enriching the soil and its flowers for bee farming activities. Mr. Yasu said that the cultivation of rape seeds are relatively easy and demands lots of effort, indicating that rape seeds have gained commendable acceptance among farmers and that its cultivation will be expanded to various places. Mr. Riaso also stated that the government will buy the production from the farmers. Stay tuned for your international after this short break. And on your news on the international line, Brazilian paleontologists are pacing together skeletons that could shed light on a new dinosaur species. Work at what could be a dinosaur graveyard started in June after a fossil was found during the construction of a railway in a manhole in the northeastern Brazil. Paleontologist Oliver Mayers and his team found the remnants of what they believe to be a Dinosaurs group of dinosaurs. Mayers told Reuters that the recent discoveries could provide fundamental new vital information on the life of dinosaurs that once roamed Brazil. He added that they already have information on other groups that were studied, but with each new animal that has been discovered, new doors are finally opening. Chinese State Counselor Foreign Minister Wang Yi held a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Saturday, hoping that the U.S. could work together with China to ensure a successful virtual summit between the two heads of state and bring bilateral ties back to the right track. The phone conversation was held shortly after the Chinese Foreign Ministry announced that a virtual meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden will take place on Tuesday morning. Wang highlighted that the leading role of the two leaders in the development of China-U.S. relations and noted that a good result from the upcoming meeting is the common aspiration of the two people and the international community. Speaking of the enormous remark made recently by the U.S. on the Taiwanian questions, Wang reiterated that the history and reality have proved that Taiwan independence is the biggest threat to the peace and stability on the region. Any support to Taiwanese independent forces will damage the regional peace and eventually cause damage oneself, Wang quoted. He urged the U.S. to clearly state its opposition to any Taiwanian independence moves and firmly uphold the commitments and made 3 China-U.S. joint communiques. He also called on the U.S. to strike to its one China policy with concrete actions instead of sending wrong signals to Taiwan independent force. Caretaker Prime Minister says government wants to deliver a hard blow to the virus of COVID-19 cases surge in the Netherlands as your final report. Caretaker Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has announced a 3-week partial lockdown aimed surging COVID-19 cases in the Netherlands, saying his government wants to deliver a hard blow to the virus. The lockdown that began on Saturday night in the first 2 states in Western Europe since a new wave of infections began surging across parts of the continent. Under the lockdown, bars, restaurants, and supermarkets will have to close at 8 p.m. Professional support matches will be played in empty stadiums, and people are being urged to work from home as much as possible. Stores selling non-essential items will have to close at 6 p.m. as reported. Speaking about the deteriorating situation in Europe at a press conference earlier Friday, Mr. Michael Ryan, the World Health Organization head of emergencies, said and quoted that, quite frankly, some countries are in such a difficult situation now that they are going to find it hard not to put in place restrictive measures, at least for a short period of time, to reduce the intensity of transmission, unquote. Rutte also said that the social distancing is returning. Masks are already widely mandated, including in shops and public sports. Health Minister Hugo de Jong said that the government is also working on legislations to restrict access in some high-risk locations and events to people who can demonstrate they are fully vaccinated of having recovered from COVID-19 and not allowing people who have stated negative. Australia and parts of Germany already have similar restrictions in place on another report, and news of the possible move before the announcement have prompted flurry among bar owners and sport administration earlier this Friday. For football lovers, the Dutch Football Federation and top two professional leagues issued a statement expressing great dismay at the expected lockdown and intensing the football stadium, which have restricted COVID measures in places that are not a major source of infections. Dear viewers, that is all for now with your domestic and international news in brief. Until we're back with some more news, stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. Until we're back with some more exclusive news, these were your major headlines and exclusive reports for this broadcast. An announcement from the Ministry of Health. Meeting on implementation of development programs and effective pilot rapeseed cultivation project in Seganati. Brazil dinosaur fossil was found during construction. Chinese officials held a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State. That is all for now. Thanks for watching once more and have a good one.